Hi, my name is Autif Kamal, and this is another video on logic and reasoning. This one is on the subcontrary relationship between propositions. Below you'll find my contact info. You can send any questions, comments, and feedback to kautif@gmail.com. You can do the same using my Skype user ID, autif.kamal. Please check out my website. There you'll find other videos I've made on logic and reasoning, as well as supplementary exercises. There's a forum to leave questions and comments for me and the viewers. There is a link to a chat room to discuss content live, either while or while not watching the videos. There's information on when I'm available to discuss content live, and also there's information on how you can earn certificates. Okay. Now I'm going to move on to how to identify why it's important to know how to identify and formulate propositions with a subcontrary relationship. To illustrate the value of knowing how to identify and formulate propositions with a subcontrary relationship, I'm going to refer back to a recent experience. Yesterday, I went to the gym in the morning, as I do every morning. As I was about to leave, I saw a friend there that I don't normally see, so I went over to go talk to him, and one of the things that we talked about was how he feels like he's not able to quit smoking. He's tried, but he can't help but smoke like a pack a day. He also mentioned how he knows people that even after a couple decades go back to smoking. And what I was thinking as I was hearing this was, okay, so I presume that here I have one person who says they have not quit smoking, so that means that some people have not quit smoking, because at least one person has not. And then at the same time, I was thinking somewhere in the world there must be at least one person who has quit smoking. If you grant that that's true, then that would mean that there's at least one person who has quit smoking, and so that would mean some people have quit smoking. Now, both of those two propositions together would be subcontrary propositions, and because both of those would be true, the sense in which this would be a starting point for argument, or starting point for our thinking, is that it would remove certain possibilities from consideration, such as those propositions which would be contradictory to each of those initial propositions that I mentioned. So we would rule out no person has quit smoking, because that would contradict some people have quit smoking, and we would rule out every person has quit smoking, because that would contradict some people have not quit smoking. Okay, so that's the sense in which it would be a starting point for argument, because it would remove those possibilities from consideration. And if you want to progress the thing even further, I'm not going to go into this in detail, but what you could do is, after you figure out, okay, so some people have quit smoking, some people haven't, the next idea you could think of is which kinds of people have quit smoking and which kinds of people have not quit smoking. Okay, I won't go too much into detail on that, but I'm just showing you how you could progress from that first step. Okay? From that one of many first steps. Okay, now here's another example, and first I just want to illustrate this rule. That's why I'm mentioning this. Now, before I get into that, I want to get into the components in propositions which have a subcontrary relationship. Both propositions in a subcontrary relationship have a particular quantity, but how they differ is that one has a positive quality, the other has a negative quality. Now, these kinds of propositions, some laptops get viruses and some laptops do not get viruses. Those cannot be false at the same time. It cannot be false that at least one laptop gets viruses. That would mean no laptops get viruses. And it cannot also be false that at least one laptop does not get viruses. That would mean that every laptop gets viruses. Now, if both of the subcontrary propositions are false, then that would mean that the contrary propositions would be true, that no laptops get viruses and all laptops get viruses. But those can't be true at the same time. So that's why the subcontrary propositions cannot be false at the same time. Okay? Now, also, as I kind of illustrated in the example that I started out with, both subcontrary propositions can be true. Okay? So imagine you have 100 laptops. It doesn't have to be 100, it could be 1 billion laptops. Okay? You have one laptop in that billion that gets viruses. Okay? Then that means at least one laptop gets viruses, so that means some laptops get viruses. So then you can't say that no laptops get viruses. Again, in that billion, you have another laptop, and that laptop does not get viruses. So then you could say some laptops do not get viruses, and because you're saying that, you cannot say that every laptop gets viruses. But basically, if you just have one laptop that gets viruses, and you have another laptop that does not get viruses, you can say both of those subcontrary propositions at the same time with no problem of logical incompatibility. Okay, and this is just to illustrate what I was mentioning before. What I mentioned in the example again is that if both of the propositions which have a subcontrary relationship are true, then that means the respective propositions which would be contradictory to each of them would have to be false. So if some laptops get viruses is true, then no laptops get viruses has to be false. And at the same time, if some laptops do not get viruses is true, then all laptops get viruses must be false as well. Okay? Now here is an example for you to do on your own. I want you to do two things. I want you to first make both the subcontrary propositions from this one. Make sure you have your quantity and your quality right for each proposition. Then after you do that, I want you to presume that both of those propositions with a subcontrary relationship are true. And I want you to say which propositions are false based on the presumption that those are both true. Both of the subcontrary propositions are true. Okay? I'll give you a moment to work on that. If you need more time, you can pause the video. Otherwise, I will move on to the answers right now. Okay, so again, let's say you have 1 billion teenagers, and one of them has acne, and another one does not have acne. Then because both of those propositions with a subcontrary relationship would be true, then no teenagers have acne would be false, since it would be true that some teenagers have acne. And all teenagers have acne would be false, because it would be true that some teenagers do not have acne. Okay? Now, if you would like to get more practice, again, using the propositions that you formulated from the propositions components video, identify those two propositions which have a subcontrary relationship, link them, and write subcontrary above that link. Okay? And what you can do further is presume that those propositions which have a subcontrary relationship are true, and then state which propositions would have to be false based on that presumption. Okay? Now next up I will talk about conjunctive propositions. The reason why I will talk about conjunctive propositions is because sometimes a predicate, or more than one predicate, is affirmed or denied of a subject, and sometimes you can affirm a single predicate of more than one subject. So I'll talk about how to formulate those and how to refute those kinds of propositions next time in greater detail. Alright, thank you.